A lot has been made of the fact that Unhinged is going to be the first movie back in movie theaters post COVID-19. I was just wondering if you could give me your thoughts on that because it seems like in some ways the film is going to be making history.
Yeah, I guess so, right? I mean, it feels pretty weird, and it's sort of hard to see sometimes a relevance in the work that you're doing when, especially when there's such important things happening around the world. But I think that it's still really important for people to do the things that they love with the people they love, and enjoy themselves, and including going to the cinemas. So I hope that people stay safe and follow the rules and look after each other. So
It does seem like the right kind of movie though to release though. Like it's an audience movie, lots of thrills and chills, and kind of a fun way, I guess, for people to spend a few hours, especially and forget about some of the things that are happening out there.
yeah, I think if you're after sort of a pretty action-packed, thrilling rush, then experience would be for you. It's a real psychological thriller. So.
So,
Mhm.
what was it like working with Russel Crowe in this movie? Because I've never seen him playing a villain before, and it's a really intense performance. And it was kind of cool to see you guys go toe to toe, especially towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like it's a really bad human being, isn't it? It's sort of, it doesn't
He's
really
pretty
get
bad.
much worse than that. It's pretty terrifying, and but in fact, we only shot a few scenes together. It was most of our, as you probably noticed, most of our scenes together were over the phone. So, but I really just made sure when I did get to work with him that I took the opportunity to really observe and pick up as much as I could.
I mean, I thought you were very impressive in the movie too, and I really liked your character, and I liked that they gave her some backstory and kind of gave her her own motivations. One of the things that was kind of cool about the movie, though, is that it does kind of have, in a heightened way, a message about the way that we treat each other. Do you think that there is kind of a message behind something like this beyond just being a thriller?
I think that with all movies, it's hard not to sort of try to find a message, and I think, of course, if a message is to, excuse me, to come from this, it would be that to think about your actions, and the effects that they can have on others. But ultimately, this is a really an entertainment piece. It's really an entertaining film.
Have you ever had a really bad experience with road rage yourself? I know that I have.
What do you have? Gosh.
Not
Yeah, I
as
mean,
bad as the movie.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, I mean, I'm really lucky. I haven't experienced anything really bad. Um, I, when I was younger, a friend of mine though got chased and
Oh,
followed by this guy who just completely lost the plot and blocked the road. So the guy, my friend, couldn't sort of get through, and he was like trying to bash me through the window. So, but I mean, I did a lot of research as well for the part, or as much as I could with my limited time, about like there's so many YouTube videos out there of just people just losing their shit. It's crazy what some people, how little they're able to regulate their emotions. It's kind of baffling.
do you also find that a movie like this, I mean, for me anyway, thrillers for some reason don't seem like they get made as much anymore. So it is kind of refreshing to see something like this where there are necessarily no superheroes flying
Mm,
around. It's a fear I think that we can all kind of relate to, right? The fear of the person in the
yeah,
car next to us.
yeah, it's sort of like taking you know the idea of somebody raging to the absolute extreme, and I definitely think it's playing on our fears of the worst case sort of nightmare situation of road rage.
Okay, it's gonna be okay.
That's where we are in this world today. We seem to have developed an inability to apologize to anyone for anything. But you're gonna learn.
Just remember, be safe out there.
Well, I watched the movie last week, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Um,
Thanks.
you did a really good job with Crow. So, can I ask you, what was it like putting in Russel Crowe, a guy that we always kind of see as this heroic character. He's got these iconic heroic roles. What's it like, and what's the purpose behind casting him as a villain? So it was pretty powerful the way that he was cast so against type.
Wow. I mean, I don't know that there was, I think it was just more of a visceral thing of just kind of like, what would it be like if you honked at the wrong guy and he came after you to dismantle your life? And if that guy was Russel Crowe, what would that be like? That's kind of I guess where it started. But then getting into it with him and seeing just how kind of how he approached the material and approached the character in such an intellectual way, and trying to take this this dehumanized kind of killing machine, monster of a character, and finding these kind of human touchstones of where this guy came from and how he got there. I mean, I think that was that made it amazing to me, is just kind of how do we create this character even though it's not on the page? How do we get there with this guy so that it's authentic, so that it makes it even scarier?
One of the things that it kind of reminded me of in a weird way was Falling Down, the Michael Douglas movie. And I mean, that was, it was kind of one of those things. I mean, I think it's also a pretty timely movie considering how on edge everybody is at the moment too. And it was just kind of, it speaks a bit to this rage that we all have kind of bubbling up inside of us, I think, every day. Unfortunately, a lot of people do have it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, we definitely have, kind of heard the Falling Down references. To me, initially I thought of Duel.
Yeah, a lot. Sure.
Yeah, but then I started thinking about, Russell's character is kind of more like the shark in Jaws.
Yeah.
But I think that this character really does kind of speak to the disenfranchised, invisible person that feels let down by society in a way that has no choice but to, in order to feel heard, but to try to express themselves through, as his character says, violence and retribution. And it's it's a reflection definitely of what we're seeing out there with people running a car through a group of people, or
that happened here.
Automatic weapons,
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a phenomenon that's happening, and there's a grounded human being behind this that started off somewhere before he got to this point, and Russell did such a great job of kind of finding that starting point, I think, which just makes this character that much scarier.
It's funny. Right after seeing this movie, I was just walking to pick up some bagels the other day, and I saw a road rage incident. Like I saw, it was this woman. She was driving an intersection pretty slowly, and this guy was honking and going crazy and cut around her. And it was crazy to me to watch somebody get that upset about something that's just going to waste some time, right? But it is a phenomenon that happens every day. I spoke to Caren Pistorius about it, and she was telling me that a friend of hers had suffered from something like that, where a guy had followed her from blocks. Why do people get so angry at something like this? I just don't understand it.
I don't know. I just think that, it's like some switch gets flipped, and it's like it just seems like they're so triggered in a way that, they feel like they have to do something, that they can't just let it sort of roll off their back, or they can't, just take responsibility for it and say they're sorry, or whatever it happens to be. Like the kind of loss of civility, is definitely real. I mean, it's out there, and I think that everyone has some brush with it in some way, which is why I think this film is so, seems to appeal to so many people, is that everyone has some connection to maybe just almost being at the wrong place at the wrong time and honking at the wrong person on the wrong day. And what if it went even worse than it, and they end up in this situation,
Well, and there's also an edge to the movie too, that at the beginning of the film, you see him kill his wife and her lover, and he basically knows that this is his last day on Earth, right? Like he's pretty much interrupted, almost committing suicide, right, at this point. So he has nothing left to lose, and I think that's what makes the movie so terrifying in some ways, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a line in the movie that you know, Karen's character says, you know, that you know, basically, you know, you're dead when the cops find you, and he says, you know, suicide by cop is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's gotten to that point in his life where he does, as you said, have nothing left to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's a sad commentary on where we are these days, you know.
And on a lighter note, I did find that Caren was a great find, and I was just wondering how you came across how you ended up casting her, because I hadn't seen her in much. I'd seen her in smaller roles in movies like Mortal Instruments, but not Mortal Instruments, sorry, Mortal Engines.
Right.
And I thought she was great in this movie, and what like a great find. How did you go about casting her?
You know, we looked at so many women for the role, and you know, Karen's audition just had something. It was something, you know, kind of that, you know, we couldn't overlook, you know, just kind of this combination of authenticity and approachability and the strength that she had, and as well as just being captivating on camera. And you know, when she came in for the chemistry read for callbacks with Russell, at that point, it was just obvious that like the two of them kind of going at it with each other for 90 minutes, like she was going to be able to rise to the occasion, which I really think she did in such a, you know, spectacular yet once again authentic way. You know, I just think that she brought something really special to the character.
I also liked kind of the fact that, you know, she flips him off originally, and that's like, I think that's something that we've all kind of done in Traffic, right? We haven't really thought about who else is going to be there. It's like, hey, yeah, fuck you, and then it's like, oh no.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think she's, you know, she's a fairly, you know, empathetic character in the beginning, and that everything, you know, she's having a really bad day. For anybody else, that would be a really bad day, but turns out Russell's having a far worse day.
No, she is very personable and likable in the film. I honestly thought she did a great job, and Russel Crowe too. One thing I gotta ask you though, and I guess it's the elephant in the room because everybody's talking about it, is the fact that it comes out, it is probably going to be the first movie that's going to come out theatrically in a real way in this kind of post-COVID-19 world. And I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were, because I know it's been delayed a couple more weeks.
Well, look, you know, I'm excited
yeah,
to get people's eyes on the film. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, safety is the first priority, and I think that you know, between the studio and the theater chains and the governments of all the different states and localities, I think that, you know, if they put into place what it seems like they're going to before they actually consent to opening, then it should be great. It should be exciting. It should be, you know, wonderful to be the first film back. But, you know, look, safety is the first priority, no matter how you look at it.
I can't help but think that this is also going to be the perfect movie for a drive-in, right? Because you're in your car.
Like, oh yeah, absolutely. I thought of it. Yeah, I thought it was a drive-in movie immediately when I read the script. Like, this would really kill at the drive-in. It'd be so good to watch this, you know, in your car, where you know, people honk and flash their lights, and, you know, really get into it. Because when I saw the first test screening of the film, it was prior to COVID. We had 450 people in the room, and the tension in the room was so amazing.
Yeah. And
the gasps and the people just white knuckling it, grabbing the armrest that really played so well in the room, that I thought, you know, you got to see this on a big screen with other people, and a drive-in is really like the perfect spot.
So it's good in a way. It's good timing because drive-ins now have had this huge resurgence, right?
Oh yeah.
Also, I mean, I think people are going to really enjoy the movie. I mean, it is a really entertaining kind of thrill ride, and you know, in some ways, maybe this is the perfect movie to bring people back into theaters, though, because it is really kind of a communal experience, right? Much more than you could have at home, you know. Although that it would still be a good movie to watch at home too, with the girlfriend and stuff like that, and, you know, and with the blankets, and I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's kind of the perfect film to bring people back in.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. Like I said, hopefully once they you know, are ready to open and everything's safe, I you know, I think it's going to be a great way to get people you know, back into that experience. You know, it's a great escapist thrill ride, you know.
One last thing, actually, that I want to ask you is one of the things I really liked about Unhinged was that it was a great example of a thriller, and it feels like this is a genre that nobody really does anymore because they're always kind of emphasizing these big blockbuster movies. What were your influence? Like you said, Duel, and you said Jaws. Do you wish in some way that movies like this would come back instead? You know, like a good big screen thriller movie. Like usually you get like kind of the VOD versions, but this was like a real movie, like a theater movie. You know, and it's kind of makes me nostalgic for those days, like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, you know, look, I mean, I think my you know, the things that jump out at me in terms of the films that have made a lasting impression on me, you know, all of them were seen in the theater or at the drive-in, you know, big screens, and you know, I think this is definitely, like you said, a throwback to one of those you know, a classic thriller, and I think that you know, it's you know, sure, I hope they make more. I hope there's, you know, I hope it's a thing, you know, I hope it's it starts something, you know. That'd be really cool to you know, be part of the change, you know, if that happens, you know.
All right, well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the movie. I really did think it was great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Okay, it's gonna be okay.
That's where we are in this world today. Seem to have developed an inability to apologize to anyone for anything. But you're gonna learn.
Just remember, be safe out there.